More work. All right, I've started the recording. So again, this will be live. And what I'll do is I got a nice list of the people here that are attending, and I'll go ahead and send this link to you guys. Maybe I'll even put it in the chat when it's done later, and you can come back to Skype and actually find the link there as well. I know that's saved in your history. So I'll be monitoring the chat, so feel free to ask me any questions while we're going through this. I'm going to try and make this. I try to make this a little bit shorter talk because I can tend to be verbose, very Dickens-ish in the length of my presentation. So I'll try to keep this one a little bit shorter. If anybody has any questions regarding Bookfunnel, or if you're not understanding something, again, stop, unmute. I'm happy to ask. I'm going to do a show and tell at the end. It's kind of walk through some examples of how people are using this and what this kind of looks like on the ground and how to kind of implement this in your day-to-day. And I'll show you a little bit of how I do it as well. And I think it'd be a good thing for a lot of people to learn. I'm not going to cover any autoresponder talk in this one, mainly because it's pretty involved. So I won't discuss that, but I will allude to it. And I'll show you kind of where I do that, but I won't go into in depth on how that's done. So if you have any questions about that, I'm happy to take that offline. All right, so the main goal of this talk was to talk a little bit about Bookfunnel. A few years ago, we did a talk regarding Insta-Freebie and Bookfunnel. Insta-Freebie has kind of fallen off. It got renamed, I think, to Prolific Reader or Prolific Works. Still being used, but I think it's a little too pricey for what it offers. I think Bookfunnel is probably your best pricing right now. There's another competitor to Bookfunnel that's called Story Origin, and I'll have links, and we'll talk a little bit about that right now, a little bit later. And they're a little bit cheaper, but they're a little bit smaller. So if you want to start into this, I would suggest you starting with Bookfunnel because it's the most established example of this type of tool on using a community of authors in order to build your following, to build your community, and to build your newsletter. So any questions so far? Anything you guys want me to cover specifically? We had a short chat with Diana before this on some stuff. If you guys have anything, toss it in, but I'll go ahead and get started. This is a slide I've been showing for a couple of years now. People have been around for a while, probably sick and tired of it. But every single bullet item we've been given talks on, and what these are various aspects of your digital author ecosystem, all the various things that you probably should have. Don't have to have all of them. Like, for example, I don't do very much social media on my side, but we can talk about newsletters and autoresponders. Today, we're going to be talking about lead magnets and giveaway platforms. Specifically, we reference their Prolific Reader, but we'll be specifically talking about Bookfunnel today. And then also the idea of group promotions and a little bit on newsletter swaps, but we won't go into too much detail about that. But I know Diana does some newsletter swaps, and a few other people have done them in the past. And we can talk a little bit about that at the end if you have questions. So hopping right into it, the problem, the very problem that we have is that I've created something. This is in our case, it's a book, but this could be anything, whether it's a podcast or I'm doing blogging or I'm doing any type of creative aspect. The problem is you've created something and you want people to know about it, right? And so the question is, how do I find them? How do I find my fans? How do I have a bunch of guys sitting around eating bad food, talking about the Bears or whatever your series is? How do you get people interested in who you are? So the marketing can kind of be boiled down into finding the right people, but that's not always the right thing. We want to find the right people that will spend money. And that's good, people who spend money, but we also want to find the right people that will spend money and then also be your fans and stay around and be invested in you. And so that's kind of the holy grail of marketing, is to find people who are in the right area, who want to stick around, spend money, and be your friend. And so I think Bookfunnel is kind of a great starting point to a lot of us who may have written a book, we have a website up, but we haven't really done much to build interest around who we are. We may have a few people, family and friends. We may go to a few events, but we're kind of lagging and we don't really know where to go from there. Now, Bookfunnel is primarily a digital platform, so you'll be doing a lot of the selling and marketing on the digital side, but Bookfunnel does have some physical applications, and we'll talk a little bit about how you can use Bookfunnel in, like, say, a selling event, or if you go to a conference, and how you can use Bookfunnel to gather email addresses and things of that nature. So it's very useful, but it is leveraging heavily on the digital side of the aisle. So how can Bookfunnel help? So it's a great place to coordinate, right? It's centered around authors working together. So we'll talk a little bit about how promos work, in the later pages here, and how we use other authors to leverage our own work, kind of getting in front of eyeballs that are similar to us, that are similar in our genre, and readers who are interested in that genre, and how authors do that together. Also, we want to find readers that like the books that we want. Also, it's very hard to deliver that book to that person. Once the reader says, yes, I think this cover looks cool, this blurb looks amazing, I would like to read it. How do you deliver that ebook? How do you deliver the Mobi file? How do you deliver the EPUB file? Bookfunnel helps you with that. Also supports email platforms. So somebody gets that file, they put an email address to get that file sent to them. Well, I want to get that email so I can email them in the future. So they integrate into our email platforms, and we'll talk a little bit about those. They also directly send the book to your e-reader. This is a super cool feature, especially if you are a reader. You don't want to have to go to the hassle of getting the book in your email and then forwarding it to your Kindle, and it didn't really send correctly. They have integrations and hookups to send directly to Kobo readers, to Barnes & Noble readers, and to Kindle readers directly to their Kindle. So it cuts out that kind of middle action that maybe people might not actually read your book because they have to go through an extra step. So they take care of a lot of that. It's also designed for readers because they have an app as well where you can actually read all the books through their app, the Bookfunnel app, but it's not exclusive to just the apps. They allow the integration to the e-readers. They're also designed by indie authors for indie authors. That was their starting point. The genesis came out of an indie author community. I think there's a great podcast. I can't remember which one. Let me check. One moment, please. It's the Story Studio podcast. Last year, they did a great interview with the creator of Bookfunnel. I highly recommend listening to that. It's a nice little history and kind of the idea of the genesis around Bookfunnel. And then it's also really great for building a community fast. So if you're a new author, or if you've been kind of like grinding along the bottom of the ocean for a little while and you want to kind of expand beyond friends and family, this is a great way and kind of that first place to start. So why does community matter? Well, it's very interesting, especially Brian here. You want to talk directly to your readers, right? We want to be outside of third-party control. So we wanted, even though Bookfunnel is a third-party company, meaning that you're paying for their services to do something, they deliver those emails to you, something that you own. So we want to be outside of them controlling the emails, and we want to control it ourselves. But also we want to own the messaging to our community, right? We don't want to have Facebook or some other platform limit the amount of reach that we have. We want to be able to directly email or directly contact the people who we know have signed up to be our friends and, community members and advocates for what we do. So we will, next thing is we'll help you build a social proof to reach new readers organically. So once you have a community of people, you are able to leverage those people to get more readers organically. And we'll talk a little bit on how to do that, and using some of the free promotional days, pushing your books up into rankings, getting reviews, things of that nature, help you gather new readers organically. Okay. So a little bit of a refresher on the idea of a content matrix. So I gave this talk a while ago on an idea of how you should approach your catalog of books. Now, some of us may only have one book, right? And that's obviously a challenge in and of itself. Some of us may have too many books, right? That's another challenge that we have. But we want to look at what we're doing, what we're going to do, what we are currently writing, and what we have written in terms of as a publisher. How do we view everything that we have? How does it sit on the shelves? When Nabisco puts a new product out, how does that leverage against another product, right? How does Ford distinguish this new electric car from a previous electric car? Things of that nature. We want to do the exact same type of thing with respect to our publishing and us as an author. So we have the idea of lead magnets. We've talked about those in the past. These are the things that we give away, we discount, that get people interested in who we are. And then we can then take that interest and push them to new things, whether it's a series of books, whether it's a bunch of standalone books, or to go into novellas, short stories, novelettes, whatever you might have done. We want to think about our content in a thoughtful manner. And this helps us focus where we put our effort. So for example, I'm not going to put all my effort on a novella when I have my main focus is my series, right? If somebody likes the series, I may then promote a novella or some of my short stories, but my main focus lives right here. And why is that helpful? It's really helpful to limit the amount of decisions we have to make. We only have to push our lead magnet. And because we have thoughtfully designed our lead magnet to flow into another series of books, people will remove themselves automatically if they do not like the lead magnet. And then people will stay if they do like it. So they'll stay and buy book 2 and book 3 and book 4. Hopefully, that's what we're all hoping for. And so if we have a thoughtful manner, we can focus our marketing in a very narrow area so we don't lose that time. And Bookfunnel helps you do this. And so you're trying to wonder, like, what's Matt talking about? Why is he talking about these things? It's because they all kind of fit together like Lego pieces. And Bookfunnel is going to help you reduce the amount of work that you have to do while also maximizing the impact. Okay? Because in reality, what are we doing? We're creating a marketing funnel. The goal is, the analogy is a funnel. Somebody falls into the funnel, and as they fall down the funnel, they move up increasingly on their interest level. So at first, when they fall into the funnel, maybe they liked your cover, maybe they liked your blurb. They're now aware of you as an author. Matthew Buza, Chloe Holiday, Susan Brown, Tony Keefe. They are aware that you exist, but they don't necessarily like you yet. So you need to do work, and we'll talk about the work you need to do in order to get them to like you. But that still doesn't mean they're going to trust you. Okay, so we're going to keep doing good things to our community, because once we get them into that level of trust, that means they're going to buy the next book that comes out, or they're going to read the next series, or they're going to support you and advocate for you to their friends and family and on their Facebook pages. So know, like, and trust. So as you move down, awareness, evaluation, conversion. Okay, so good writing and good communication cures new readers and cures them like you're curing like a pot, or like concrete is curing. You want to cure them from new readers into fans. John says, I get it. You want your funnel to be like a black hole. Absolutely. You want them to cross the event horizon and not have no way to come back. That's proper marketing. Good job, John. Thanks for bringing the physics into it. So now that we're on to it, what does Bookfunnel do? So it starts by distributing your digital products. So this is a book, this is a giveaway, a short story, a lead magnet, interviews with your characters, the CIA dossier on your spy thriller, whatever it might be. It's some type of product that you're going to give away or share with people. All right, that gets them interested in who you are. That satisfies that first level of your book funnel, is that awareness. And they achieve that by creating these beautiful landing pages. So up in the top right, this is an example from Bookfunnel's web page. So they have Lewis Carroll's, Alice in Wonderland. So a nice cover, little blurb, get the book, more blurb, so on and so forth. So a nice, beautiful landing page, and we'll show you examples of how those work. Again, they deliver that book to the e-reader. They give you those compelling landing pages and encourage downloads. So good landing pages get more clicks. And so there's a little bit of a science in that, and we can talk a little bit about that in a little while. Next thing, you can then coordinate giveaways and promotions and sales. There's a whole bunch of different things they allow you to do, which is super helpful and fit into certain types of genres. So some genres will pay more. Some genres want more free books. They give you options across the board so that you can test and check and see which one works for you, okay? And most importantly, they gather the emails, and that's the most important thing, to build your email list. So the question is, why do you want to build your email list? Well, here it is. It's the best way. It's the best and most powerful tool we have right now. It's so personal. People curate their email way more than they do their social media feeds. All right. It also is going to allow you as an author to drive reviews on your books, sell to your list when you launch a new book, generate interest out of the gate, so you're not launching into the void, the John's black hole, except there's nobody there and they don't even know you exist. We want to launch to people who know who we are and are interested in us, driving sales. And the most importantly is that between Bezos, Zuckerberg, and whatever Twitter Rasputin, they want to get between you and the customer. So Amazon does not allow you to get access to who's purchased your book. Facebook limits the reach of your Facebook page and your Facebook group without spending a little bit of money to boost that post. Same thing on Twitter as well. All right. They want to get between you and your customers. And the goal right now, and I think the trend going forward, is that you want to collect as many people as possible into your little community and not rely on these really powerful, very popular third-party tools. You want to use these tools, but they have a place. They're not your primary selling point. Your email list is pretty much your primary selling point. And I think that's true across the board. Some of the best and most popular indie authors will agree with this, that your list is your most important, your asset. Oprah launch and Bezos. Yes, yeah. Bezos is going to get launched. All right. So first thing is we got to know what's the sticking point. What's the green? All right. So Bookfunnel does cost money. And I would argue if properly implemented and all the things that we're going to talk about today, you can at a minimum make up the base level cost of Bookfunnel, just doing the basic level things of doing the promotions, getting book sales from that. I think it's very easy to make the money back within, your monthly sales. I really honestly believe that. So at the base level, they have two plans. I really, 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 really encourage you to use the $15 a month plan, which includes integration. So what does that mean? That means Bookfunnel is hooked to your newsletter provider. So for example, if you're using MailChimp, you're able to sync your MailChimp to Bookfunnel so that when somebody subscribes to your book on Bookfunnel, Bookfunnel sends that email to MailChimp, or if you use SendFox, or if you use MailerLite, they send that email there automatically. And this is super powerful because otherwise it's a manual effort in the $10 a month plan, and you will invariably forget how to do that. And you will forget to import your new subscribers every time you send a newsletter. And it's just work, and it's one level of complication that I think $5 a month, it's worth it. Also, which we're not talking about, is the autoresponders. If you have your integration paid for and they're sending you the emails every time somebody gets one of your books off of Bookfunnel to your newsletter provider, if you have an autoresponder, that means you're continuously putting people into your autoresponder. And that is a very powerful thing. So that means you're, in essence, selling books while you sleep. And I think that's the key thing, at least for me, is that I can be throwing people into my autoresponder, throwing people into my newsletter list while I sleep, and then potentially selling books while I sleep. And that's, I think for me, that's the holy grail. So let's go into how to use Bookfunnel. We're going to do a show and tell at the end, so don't worry too much about the pictures and everything. But the first thing is the landing page. So they allow you to upload a lead magnet, and think about, this is very similar to if a lot of us are wide and we use draft to digital, or if we use the KDP dashboard, you're able to load up your book, you make a blurb, you can twiddle some bits here and there on like the fonts and whatnot. And then you're done, you go ahead and submit. It's the same level of complexity to create a landing page on Bookfunnel. So basically you're putting your book on there, you put your file, whether it's the Mobi file, EPUB file, PDF, whatever it may be, you put up your cover, you put up a little bit of a blurb, and you're done. Then they give you a link to a landing page, and you can put that link everywhere on your website, on your social media, in the back and front of your books, wherever you want to put it. If you're doing some special promo with an author friend of yours, you can use that link as well. It's super powerful because it's all the same link and it all goes to the same place. So you create it once and then you spread the link wherever you want to put it, and whoever ends up clicking on it will get your book, and then you get that email address. Super popular feature, and it's probably the starting point where most of us will start with this platform. Next, we have the Bookfunnel. We have the newsletter subscribers. We talked about this. They'll gather all those email subscribers. They'll send those subscribers to your newsletter client, right? And if you have autoresponders, that helps a lot. Well, what also is important is that they will deliver content to your subscribers, whether it's the file, but also if you are doing ARC reviews, I'm sending an advanced copy to my newsletter subscribers. I can deliver that via Bookfunnel, and I'll show you examples of how I do that in what I do. But sending early copies, advanced copies, early previews of an up and coming book, early copies of the new book, you can absolutely do that, and you can use Bookfunnel to do that. So this is not to gather email addresses, it's just to make your subscribers' lives easier. So if, say, I want to send something, instead of putting something on Dropbox or putting it on your webpage where they have to download it and then send it to the reader, you take advantage of the fact that you have Bookfunnel and you deliver those copies of whatever you want to do. Oh, I wrote a new short story this week, guys. I want to let everybody know about it. Well, you can put that on your blog, or you can put it into Bookfunnel and then send them a link, and they can download it that way, and that goes right to their Kindle, so they can read it, tonight. That type of thing. Really, really, really powerful tool. Not just to gather email addresses, but also to make your life easier when sending things to your community. All right. And then you can also do custom content. So you can do lost chapters, short stories, special content. And that's really helpful if you're doing like an autoresponder. So somebody subscribes and gets your book. Maybe a couple of days later, you send them some lost chapters, or you send them some special content, right? That entices them to read and download and listen. So you're using Bookfunnel to send them that extra stuff. So that's, again, the way we talked about curing your new subscribers, is getting them interested in what you're doing. And these are ways to do it, and you can use Bookfunnel to do that. And I'll show you how I do that. Next thing, author coordination. And this is, I think, is the saving grace of Bookfunnel. It's the most important thing, is that other authors are working together to promote everybody, right? And this is this great sense of cooperation where you guys are sharing subscribers, sharing community around common genres. So if you write horror, you're working with horror authors. And what's great about that is that you can then find other authors that you like, work with other authors that you enjoy, share communities, join Facebook groups. It's a great way to actually meet other authors, but also it's a great way to build your newsletter list, right? Because we do a promotion, we're all promoting our work together, and we are gathering email addresses. So I'm going to share some of my community with that guy, and that guy's going to share some of his community with me. All right. There are requirements around this. Number one, you need to have a compelling cover. Bad covers will be rejected by promoters, but also bad covers will be rejected by readers. So they won't subscribe to who you are. Some promotions exclude previews and partial content, so they don't like short stuff. If you're doing book giveaways, you need to give a book. Sometimes they have a word count limit. So, this has to be at a minimum 10,000 words, right? And they will check that. Also, it's very specific genre requirements. So that's kind of cool. So if you're a writer in a very, very niche genre, like, hey, I write about, as I have there, sci-fi stories with time-traveling dinosaurs, right? Which is kind of wonky and weird and silly, but you may actually find that there's another 5 or 6 authors that do that. And then that's a great way to learn about that genre and to get involved with those authors to help promote each other, right? But they have a lot of specific subgenres, and we'll show you examples of that in the show and tell. Okay. It does require you most of the time to do an email promoting the promo to your subscribers, and we'll show you how that requirement is fulfilled. But that is a requirement very often. Some of them give us an option to do some social media pushing as well, and a lot of authors will do this around certain Facebook groups. So you can do promotions and additional pushes there, and it's a great way for you to get more downloads on your book. And anything that is romance, anything that is not romance will often exclude erotica. So if you're doing sci-fi erotica, you're probably out. Urban fantasy erotica, you're out, unless you're in one of the romance categories, and we'll show you what that looks like. But do note that erotica is excluded. And they may exclude your cover if you're doing too much wolf abs on the front of your covers, if it doesn't fit like the fantasy genre. Now, once you have the idea of the promotions, there are different types of promotions, which is really cool. So they will have promotions that are, say, Amazon, Kobo, and Barnes & Noble specific, which provide direct links to your page for people to go and buy. This is great if you're KU, so they'll have KU specific promotions, because some authors segment their lists based on whether they're KU or they're like Barnes and Noble or whatnot. So they try to get certain types of books into certain types of readers' hands. If you're trying to get into Vela, which I haven't touched much on and I haven't read much on, but I know it's a new thing from Amazon, or if you're doing KU, these are great ways to find those readers directly. Next thing, they do a sales page. And so this is a sales page for individual books. They can do bundles. There's giveaways, raffle drawings. I know Diana was talking about the sumo giveaway. I see these here as well in the raffle drawings. These are like, oh, I'm going to give away this, I don't know, an Amazon gift card or the signed book from this famous author. And a bunch of people subscribe to it. They get your book, you get those email addresses, and then somebody's awarded the raffle drawing. This is a popular thing. These are low value, low quality subscribers, but you can get a lot of subscribers really fast, and there may be a way for you to sell more books. Who knows? The most important one for me, and the one I primarily use, is the newsletter one. So basically, these are people just trying to build newsletters, or just a list of books by a genre, and then people subscribe to those books if they want to read them. All right, so as of 2021, so as of like yesterday, when I put this here, they have a sci-fi fantasy category for all promos, and they include horror in there as well. So just as a heads up, they have action, adventure, children's books, Christian, mystery, and suspense, which also includes thrillers. They have a nonfiction category, romance, and there's young adult. And within there, I think the biggest one is romance. There's about, I think, 350 active promos, and if you can imagine that, that's about 20 or 30 authors per promo. You're talking about thousands and thousands of authors to promote with. So the reach is huge. I think one of the smallest ones, I think, is the children's books. But even there, they have about 20 to 30 promos running at any one time. So don't think you are excluded because I write, about, Andy's writing about, travels in China. You have the opportunity to get access to a community of readers through the nonfiction category. So it doesn't matter how weird or how strange you are, or how normal you are in your writing and your genre, there's always something there for you. All right, so let's pick it up. So there is some etiquette around the promos. Number one, don't be a jerk and subscribe to 10 promos, and I'll show you an example of a jerk. Not sharing the promos will get you flagged, so you will get a negative mark if you forget. The coordinator has the right to remove you if you don't share. So a lot of, okay, here's a good question. So Andy has one book. Should he go KU so he could get some page reads? Yes. So I think it's a great place to start, but he's nonfiction. So there's kind of a question. He may try going wide for a little while, using draft to digital and seeing if he can get more of a reach internationally with his book, because it is kind of international in nature. That may be a test, and you can just test it for 6 to 9 months and see if that works. You can also do the preview giveaways on the nonfiction section, and then try to upsell people to the book. That's another way to go. I would say if you're a genre writer, like if you're writing fantasy and whatnot, a good place to start would be KU, and then you can make the decision to to go wide after a while. I like the preview setup. Yeah, so basically what I mean by preview is say, hey, I've written a 300-page book. I'm going to give away the first 30 pages as a preview, and then I put those into the promos. As long as they accept previews, you are able to put that in there. Once somebody downloads it, there's a call to action at the end of that preview to go buy the book. That's what I mean by that. So that's how you can use one book that's written and use these promotions to build your community and upsell your book. Now, what's really powerful about that is that when you write the next book, you will have maybe a couple hundred people that are available to buy your next book, right? So this is really a good thing. And I also really encourage people who haven't written any book yet and they're just starting out and they are halfway through their draft to pause, write a little bit of a prequel, or maybe take the first 30 pages, edit it really well, and start giving that away as an interest, so that when you finish the book, you can launch to people as opposed to launching into John's black hole void of nobody. That's a little bit of a risky thing because that means you have to finish your book. But I really do like the idea of hitting the ground running with your first book and having subscribers that are willing to spend money and buy your book. So I had a question. Does anyone know what percentage of click previews get as opposed to full stories? The reason why they eliminate a lot of the previews is that people don't like getting previews very much. Twan has a question, what is KU? That's Kindle Unlimited. So that's when you are exclusive to Amazon. You get to be put into their Kindle Unlimited program, and you get paid by the page read and also book purchases. So it's a option for you to publish, but that does not. But if you're in KU, that means you can't publish anywhere else outside of Amazon. So that's the kind of the Faustian bargain you get there. With respect to the percentages on clicks and previews, one of the reasons why is that readers are expecting full books, and if they get a preview, they don't like that, and so a lot of them will eliminate it. But there are also promotions that are just previews, and so you're promoting previews so people can just get a little bit of a taste, so they don't have to commit to the whole book, and they can delete it. So it's a give and take on that. Short stories versus full stories, again, those are segmented by the promo. So the promo could be centered around short stories, or centered around novellas, or centered around prequels, or centered around strong female characters. What's great about it is that there's always something that you can get into. So that's what I like about that. Most people, with respect to the click numbers, it's really segmented by the promo, and they just want to eliminate people getting upset. And that's why they do that. It's not, I don't think people get more or less clicks. I think just the organizers are really, really, really good about making the right decisions based on the readers they know they're going after. That's kind of the thing. All right. Did I hit all this? Coordinator to, oh yeah, so the coordinator will remove you if you don't share. They'll also tend to subscribe to your newsletter to verify that you've sent your promo out. Some of them ask you to forward it to them. I don't see that as much anymore. I think Bookfunnel has built into something into the coordinators to know whether or not they've sent the newsletter out. I haven't run one yet. I've run a couple in the past, but I haven't done one lately, so I don't know what new tools are available to them. I would say max do 2 to 3 promos at any one time. I think that's probably the best etiquette you can do. There's a downside to what I call promo stuffing. That's where you go and subscribe to 10 promotions at one time. You get a bad click rating. So when your subscribers go through, they're going to click on the promo. That promo is a unique link associated directly to you. And so the organizers can see if you have a bad click rating. Like, oh, this person only gets like 4 clicks every time they send out a newsletter. I don't like that person. I'm not going to let them in my promo. Now, if you're a beginner and this is like your first few promos on Bookfunnel, you just let the coordinator know that, and that's okay. Everybody has to start somewhere. That's fine. They'll see that you haven't sent anything yet, and they'll know you're new, so they're not going to downgrade you on your click rating. But they'll know, oh, this person's been in 20 promos, and their click rating is 2. Then they know you're not doing something correctly, and that they can just eliminate you from the promo. Okay. Can you list an archive link so that they have, like they have in Story Origin? What do you mean by archive link, Diana? If you want to come off mute, I can answer that maybe.
In Story Origin, when you set up a promo, you have a chance to put in an archive link, which is it's the newsletter that you're going to send with that promo and whatever else there is. And so it's a way that someone can click to preview or look at the newsletter and also to confirm that it was in fact sent.
They don't have anything like that yet. That was a cool feature in Story Origin for coordinators. That was. But they do ask you to tell them what day you're going to send your promo out. So if you're, say, like this coming week, let's see, the coming week is the 26th through, the 31st or the 1st. All right. So say like we have a promo that's going to run from Monday to Friday. So the 26th to the 30th of July. You say, oh, I'm going to send my newsletter out on the 28th. So both Story Origin, which we'll talk about later, and Bookfunnel will ask you when you join the promo what day you're going to send your newsletter out. And so then the coordinator knows that, okay, I'm going to get a nice wave of clicks from this person on that day, and then I'll check to make sure that person has sent their newsletter. But I don't think they have an archive link for that. So some newsletter subscribers will allow you to take a link that is your newsletter, and they actually give you a web link that I think you can put in there to verify something. All right, next, best practices. Let's go back to it. Stacking promos. You typically want to do about 2 to 3. That's my best advice to you, is to do that. I think if If I was a coordinator and I clicked on your newsletter and I saw 10 promos in there, I know you're not giving me what I need, which is promoting my promotion. So why should I support you if you're going to have 50 different promos in your thing, right? I would not want that. I would remove you from that promotion. I would have that as a hard rule, minimum 3 promos per newsletter. Stacked promos do need to share the same date. So don't subscribe to 3 promos that are not overlapping on the same day. Have a common day, because you don't want to send out a newsletter one week and then have to send out a newsletter the second week when you don't want to send out that many newsletters. So try to stack those promos so they share the common announce date. Another thing, we'll talk a little bit about content plans and all that stuff, but I do like you to have your newsletter ready ahead of time, because the last thing you want to do is miss your announcement date. So do try to have that ready about a week ahead of time or a couple days ahead of time. Enter your promos about 2 to 3 weeks ahead, because they do fill up, and I think a lot of them do have priority listings. So I'll show you here in a little while what the promos look like, but it's a grid listing and they fill up as people subscribe. So if you subscribe earlier to the promo, you get a higher date, and there's a heat map on the clicking. So if you're at the bottom, you're not going to get as many clicks. If you're at the top, you're going to get more clicks. It's just the nature of the readers. Also, genre hoppers should consider separating email lists within their provider to have different entry points if you write in different genres. So for example, if you're a romance, but I also write spy thrillers, those are 2 things you probably don't want to have mixing. So you'll want to separate those 2 out. And I'll show you what that looks like in your newsletter provider. Also, subscribe to the Bookfunnel new promotion feed. They'll send you emails whenever there's a new promotion. It's another way to get on the new promos fast, because some of them do fill up. And there are some promoters and coordinators that do get really good interest. Like Dean Wilson is one guy that I'm in his promos a lot. And he always gets filled up. He could have up to 100 authors in one of his promos. So it's good to get it early and then get up high on the list. Okay. So what are some newsletter providers? We've talked about a few of them: SendFox, MailerLite, MailChimp, and there's a bunch of others. It doesn't matter. I like SendFox because of the money. It's a one-time fee. You sign up for it. You don't get charged monthly fees. You get up to 5,000 to 8,000 subscribers for $50 to $100, and it's a one-time thing. It's great if you're starting out. If you like to save money, I would say use SendFox. They do have a monthly program, but it's $18 a month. So if you ever get too big, that's a good thing to have. If you have over 8,000 active subscribers, you're probably making more than $18 a month, hopefully, so you can afford the Empire add-on. And that would then be a monthly thing. All right, so what can I do with SendFox? Everything that MailerLite and MailChimp do. There's blah, 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 a bunch of things, WordPress plugin. And my favorite thing is they support Bookfunnel integration, which means they do it automatically and they have autoresponders. That's what's important to me. So when you're setting up your Bookfunnel, what do you need? It's very similar to Draft to Digital, KDP. You need a book cover. You need your book files, PDF, Mobi, EPUB. And I like to use Calibri, which is a free tool to make those files. And I have my output files, a Word file. I typically upload Word files to the KDP dashboard. And so I use Calibri to convert the Word file to Mobi, to EPUB, and to PDF. And that's a very simple tool. I won't do a demo there, but Calibri is very easy to do. You just drag and drop, you right click, say convert my file, and then I load those files into Bookfunnel. Okay. Then you'll need your book title. You'll need a landing page with your blurb. I tend to pull what I put on Amazon and I put that in there. And also they support audio files. So I'm piggybacking on Diana's great last 2 talks about audio files. They do allow you to put up to 120-minute audio file for sharing and delivering to people. So that's about 20,000 word files, great for short stories. You can do it as a preview. And then also if you're doing episodic content, it's another great way to distribute audio to people. So if you want to find a platform that's going to distribute audio, if you have Bookfunnel, you get to do that as well. It's just a nice little feature that they have going for people. All right. So Bookfunnel is great, but what's the catch? So number 1, you need to have an active newsletter to make it worth it, right? Because if you're not sending out newsletters actively to your newsletter list to do things, whether it's to download your new book, read your short story, whatever it might be, then it makes it hard to justify the Bookfunnel, and it makes your newsletter stale over time. And so you need to have something that makes it worth opening, right? I need to have my newsletter worth opening. So what do I mean by active? It's not super active. It's not like a newsletter every week. It's 1 to 12 emails a year. So quarterly or monthly. If you can go somewhere in that range, I think it's pretty active. What I like to do is I like to do the first of the month. When I'm really, really active, when I have a lot of stuff, I will go to twice a month model. So that's anywhere between 12 to 24. And I will gear it up or gear it down based on, what I have available and what is coming down the pipe. Okay. I like keeping in touch. I like to keep things interesting. Okay. And that does require a content plan. And so we'll talk a little bit about what that means with the content plan. Because you've got to remember, Bookfunnel and your newsletter go hand in hand, because to fulfill the requirements of the Bookfunnel promotions, you need to be sending out newsletters. Well, if you just spam people all the time, that's not worth opening. You're going to lose subscribers. So they got to kind of go hand in hand. So if you want to commit to Bookfunnel, that means you're committing to your newsletter. Those two have to go together. So sitting back wondering what you're going to do next is not good. So what do I send? You can talk about your hot tubs, right? And that's great. And there I am. Well, the dream of who I am, Handsome Henry, writing my newsletters. You want to think about, what does the reader want from you? This is somebody who has gotten a free book. Maybe they've read 1 or 2 of your books. What do they want to hear from you? Do they want to hear about your gardening and your hot tub? That's great. If that's what they want to hear about, great. My readers don't. So I want to try and keep it something interesting that they want to open. So I like to give them something to read, whether it's a short story. My book is on promotion this week. Whatever it might be, it's something that they can read. And so I like to write short stories to fulfill that. If you have a bunch of short stories in your back pocket, or if you have a bunch of blog posts that you wrote for, some whatever, if you're a nonfiction guy, maybe it's some new wrinkle, a little 500-word piece on, whatever you're doing, or it's some journal entry that you had from when you were walking around China, whatever it might be, something interesting that feeds into what you're writing. I think that is the one that is the most important. Are you sure they don't want to see you in your hot tubs? Yes. And all Handsome Henry needs here is a wolf next to him, and I'm in the romance genre. So, but no Witcher. So the key is to do that. So what do? Well, I say keep it simple. So all emails that you send should have simple calls to action. I like to give them something to read: short stories, free days on your book, extra content, lost chapters, interviews with characters, artwork that you did that was inspired by this thing, new maps that are in your book, this and that type of stuff. Whatever it might be, that is what you send those subscribers in your newsletter, because again, you're curing those people who are interested in you into someone who's a fan of yours. And these are the types of things you want to do in your newsletter to help make people go from, know who you are, to like who you are, to trust who you are. And this is how you do it. For at least this is how I have been doing it. You can do whatever you want, but I find this to be the best thing to start with. So keep it topical on reading. Also, unless you're a political writer, I always say stay apolitical in your newsletters. It will keep your head from the guillotine. So I try to stay apolitical. I do like to have short emails. So most people who are downloading your book are doing it on mobile. Most people who are reading your email are doing it on mobile. And so think about 2 to 3 thumb swipes up your phone. Anything longer than that, think about sending them to a blog post. If you do another idea, like something that Linda does and Rachel does in our group, they do book reviews. So they read a lot of books and then they write reviews on that. And that's a great way to become an authority in the writing space, and for people to trust who you are. Your reviews on books that are popular, that are new, that are fresh. Always another way to kind of get people interested in who you are. Simple written review is really cool. So again, keep it simple. But if you do write a review, I would suggest sending them to a blog post. So, all right, we're almost there, guys. I told you it's not going to be as long as it normally is. So plan your newsletter content. So avoid newsletter burnout. This is a big thing that people run into, is they try to write it at the last minute. That can be kind of scary. Again, why the newsletter is because you're fulfilling the requirement of Bookfunnel promotions. And we'll show you what that looks like in a few here in the show and tell. But this is why I'm talking so much about newsletters, is because it's so important. with respect to Bookfunnel, because not just because of what Bookfunnel is requiring you to do, which is promote the promotion, but also you're in these promotions and you're getting new subscribers and you want those people to do things. So they kind of go hand in hand. Big thing, prepare, remain agile. Think about all the types of content that you can put together. I've talked about that. What does that look like? Generic author number 2385. They've chosen to do 12 monthly newsletters. Great. They have a publishing plan for this year to put out a novel and to write 3 short stories. So how can I get 12 newsletters out of 4 things? Great. I'm going to have a novel. I'm going to have an email that goes out, newsletter 1, for early access for reviews. So these are going to be people you're going to gather up, specific individuals who are going to then hopefully leave you reviews on that new book. And then you're going to have an announcement newsletter that will go out to your whole newsletter and say, hey, my new book's available. Boom, that's 2 newsletters. Then you write 3 short stories, right? So all 3 short stories get an early access for reviews. All 3 short stories get an announcement email, right? This is duplicating the content. So once it goes up on, if you publish it on Amazon, or you publish it wide on through Draft to Digital to all the platforms, you want to fulfill early access to the story, and then an ability for them to buy it. And then at the end, same cycle, early access to the anthology. Maybe you wrote a secret extra story that's only going to be in the anthology. You got another 2 newsletters there. And then maybe you do a little bit 2 backlist promotions at the end of the, throughout the year. So, hey, my old book is available free this weekend. Why don't you guys get a copy? So here's an easy way for you to get 12 newsletters. A lot of people wonder, how can I send so many newsletters? This allows you to do that. This is a good example of how to do that. You obviously can tweak and change here and there, but doing this type of model is a great way to get 12 newsletters. And remember, that's 12 newsletters, 2 to 3 promotions each. You're going to be in 36 promotions, 24 to 36 promotions in the year. You can easily add 500 to 600 newsletter subscribers in that time period. And that's a really powerful way for you to build your community. And if you do that for a couple of years, who knows, you might start selling some books. Can we promote our short stories in the co-op anthology? Once your short story is out of KU, because we have it exclusively in the co-op under KU for a year, then you can then go ahead and promote that. Yes, because we do pull it out of KU and then it's available for wide promotion, but I don't think you can then put that story into KU for under your own thing, because it's permanently in the co-op's book. So you'll have to publish that short story wide. Hopefully that answers your question, Tony. All right, so is there an alternative Bookfunnel? You bet your butt there is. It's called Story Origin. They were free for a while, and now they're making you pay. And it's about the same price as Bookfunnel. They have about the same features. One thing that I like about Story Origin a little bit more than Bookfunnel is they have an absolute fantastic coordinating software tool to get you to do newsletter swaps. And I'm waiting for Bookfunnel to finally get their act together and allow newsletter swaps. So what is a newsletter swap? That is where you go and find another author who writes similar books in your genre. Say you guys all write, I don't know, bodice ripping dinosaur time traveling books. And so you have a bunch of, busty T-Rexes on the front cover of your book. And you want to say, hey, I have my busty T-Rex story and you have your busty Triceratops story. I think my community will like your community. So let's swap in our newsletters. So in my newsletter, I'm going to promote your book. In your newsletter, you're going to promote my book, and we're going to share subscribers and hopefully sell books. That's a newsletter swap. Now, here's the catch. Couple catches. Number 1, don't recommend anything you wouldn't read yourself. So you don't want to recommend trash. So you got to try and read the book that you're recommending. You can even preview it, read the first 30 pages. If it sounds good, okay, fine. Number 2, don't do a newsletter swap with somebody who's going to have 15 authors in their newsletter swaps. That is newsletter swap stacking, stuffing. Don't do that. Stacking and stuffing and, bodice rippers. But don't get involved in somebody who's going to stuff a bunch of authors in their newsletter, because in essence, they're stealing subscribers from you. Okay, so don't do that. Those are 2 catches on newsletter swaps. So I would mandate at least 2 authors in newsletter swaps, and we'll show you what a newsletter swap looks like. But try to limit it. You say, I'm only going to do it if you have 2 or less authors in your newsletter swaps. That would be a hard requirement for myself. Okay, I've been talking for about 55 minutes. We can do a book funnel walkthrough. Does anybody have any questions so far? You can come off mute. I'm going to get a little dihydrogen oxide here. No questions. Have I melted your brains? Anyone awake? Hello? All right. So let's do a walkthrough on what Bookfunnel looks like. I'll keep the recording going so you can watch it later. If you don't want to sit through the walkthrough, you don't have to. Otherwise, I'm going to show you what it looks like. Brain melted, Heidi. Great. Prepare to get melted even more. What's great about this is that, when you start to get into this kind of newsletter, book funnel, promoting with other authors, you start to realize that becoming a successful author is not a part-time job, right? It's not something you just like, oh, I wrote a book and I'm done and I'm going to, make bajillions of dollars. I think what's important here is that it takes work and it takes continuous work, right? When you see someone like Sierra, who's in our group, she's busting her butt every day. She's always doing promotions. She's always got a plan. She's always writing. And that's kind of where we all need to be. That being said, you don't need to do everything. And the last 2 years for me, I have actually pulled back on what I do to just writing books and just building my newsletter. I don't do social media. I don't do paid advertising anymore. All I do is I write and I have a newsletter. And that's all I focus on right now because that's all I got time for because I'm a stay-at-home dad with 2 kids. What can I do? I write books and I build my newsletter, and that's all I focus on.
Just to add.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So you just focus on your newsletter. Do you also do Bookfunnel in the giveaway or the things there as well, or is it just focusing on your newsletter and to the people that you currently have?
Yeah. So when I talk about the newsletter, absolutely, Bookfunnel is they go together. Like when I reference my newsletter, Bookfunnel and SendFox, I almost see them as one thing.
Gotcha. So you're doing that in addition to your newsletter.
Yes.
Participating in. Okay, cool.
Yeah, and actually, believe it or not, my newsletter is more geared towards Bookfunnel than anything. So Bookfunnel is kind of in the first position, and my newsletter sits on top of it. Like if I don't have anything to give away, I'm not sending a newsletter, right? Or if I don't have anything to promote, I'm not sending a newsletter. So I skipped last month because it was busy and I didn't have much going on. So I just skipped the newsletter for that month. I'll do something this coming month, right? Bookfunnel is really the core because every time I send out a newsletter, it's only because I'm in promos. It's so I'm fulfilling the requirement to add new people into my newsletter. So the newsletter and Bookfunnel are so intertwined. They are one and the same for me. If Bookfunnel had a newsletter client that sent emails out, I would just do Bookfunnel. Like that's my only focus right now. All right, so hopefully I answered your question. So here I am in Bookfunnel. Actually, if you just go to bookfunnel.com, you get their really nice little landing page. They show you example of their reader magnet, and then it's just this nice scrolly thing, super long thing, whatever, doesn't matter. Once you sign up, you get to this dashboard right here. And this is my dashboard, and I'll show you what I have. Is Bookfunnel appropriate for unfinished books that you add content to regularly? Ah, great point. So you can absolutely 100% release content in a serial, episodic manner, and you can also update that document periodically. Now, do you understand that if it's not in a high quality state, that's going to affect you and your ability to make money? But yes, you can absolutely send things. And here, I'll click on my books link here up on the top left, and you'll see I have a lot of items, and I actually have over 18 entries in my dashboard. These are all things that I can give away, and they all have different reasons why I have them in here. Okay, so you can absolutely put as many things as you want. I really don't think there's a limit. I don't think there's a limit to the number of books you can put on the page. So if you have like 50 things or 50 chapters, you can do every single chapter of your book. If you want to do kind of a regular giveaway thing. Okay, so the first thing you have here, and the most important thing, is you want to set up a book, right? You want to load something up. So up here on the top right, it's very simple. Action, add new book. So by clicking that, you now have the ability to add a new book. So you can put the book title, the label. Some options in Bookfunnel allow you to have different pen names. So you can select from a different pen name. I only have one, so it's no big deal for me. I can then choose what this is. So if I'm uploading a preview, I flag it as a preview. If it's a short story, I flag it as a short story. That's important because if you get into a promo, the coordinator will look at your book type and say, okay, that's a short story. We're not allowing short stories in this giveaway. If you're in a series, you can put that, what volume you are. You can put your Amazon number if you want as well. Book tagline, your book description, and any note to readers. So it's up to you. They always have these nice little hover options that tell you what to do here. This text will be displayed above your book description. This is on the bottom of your book description. So if you go ahead and do that, you then create a new book. So let me click on my big book here. So what you'll get to this point right here. So you've created your book. You have your title, the name, your little blurb, book 1 of 6. And then I went here and I get to upload my book files. So you see I have an EPUB version and I have a Mobi version as well. So I've uploaded both of those. Okay. Once you have done that, you've uploaded your cover, you can then come down here and you can create a landing page. Okay, we've got some questions coming in. I guess I'm giving them a little choice. A little scary to me. Okay. What would be a note to readers? Yeah, so correct, Diana. If you have a note to your readers, you're right. It could be like, this is an ARC copy of my book, or this is up to Tanya's question, this is an unfinished working version of my book, right? You can actually tell them that, and that's something that they can be comfortable with. If you want to give an early version of it, I'll talk a little bit about different type of landing pages and different types of things you can create. But here I can create a landing page. So if I go here, actually down here, so I want to create a landing page. By clicking on this, they give you the option to create a new page right here. So what Bookfunnel does really well for people who get a little scared around technology is they give you a lot of great options down here on the below. Oh, I want to join a sales promo. I want to deliver an ebook. And when you click that, they give you the button to do that. So if you're like, oh gosh, I forgot how to create a landing page, go to the bottom. Because they know where you are in the tool, they'll say, oh, I want to create a new landing page. So when you click on that, they allow you to create a new landing page. So you get to select which book that you've put in there. Okay. Do you want it to be an email sign up? Do you want it to be a simple download page, a sales page, a restricted landing page? All these different options, you can select it and then go ahead and create that landing page. Okay. And then once you've created that landing page, it will show up here. And by clicking on that, you will see how many people have gotten this book, the link to the book, the short link if you wanted to do that, and some other additional options down here. Download stats, so you can see how many people see the book. So 51% of the people who see this book subscribe to it, which means I'm doing a decent job on my like messaging and my cover and all that type of stuff. I don't know what's typical, but that seems good to me. Then you can change the landing page here. So you can see I click these little buttons and they collapse different items. So I can change the text. I can change different little silly things. And then there's like a thank you page. Then there's some advanced settings. I don't mess around with these too much. I pretty much just put the text in and I'm good. I'm good to go. You can view your landing page here. So if I click on this, it opens up the page and you can see it here. So I've got my cover, my messaging, my description, and then when you click on my book, I require the first name and the email address so I can put that into that gets sent to my newsletter provider, and then they get the book. And then there's some other additional options. Oh, and then learn how Matthew Buza protects your privacy. So they will ask you to have a page on your website that states your privacy standpoint. And I haven't fixed that, so I need to fix that. But they have a privacy statement there as well. All right. So that's basically, now you've created a book. And listen, you don't have to worry about all the steps and everything. It's pretty straightforward. You can play around with it. It's not that hard. You can make edits and you can delete pages. You can do whatever. You can also limit how long a book is available. So you can say this giveaway is only available for 2 weeks, and you can put a time limit there. You can also say there's only 50 copies that are ever going to be able to give away, and then Bookfunnel will only deliver 50. So when 51 comes in, it'll say, nope, sorry, this has been used up. If you want to limit the amount of people, create a little bit of artificial scarcity. There's different options you can make on your landing pages. Now, there's another thing I like to do here. Like, for example, on my little short stories, I will create 2 landing pages. One is a giveaway, which requires the opt-in, which gives the email. And then I will create an ARC one that does not require an email. And this is something that I would send to people who are already on my newsletter list. So we talked a little bit earlier about, oh, what do I do for people? I want to send an ARC copy, but I don't want them to have to sign up and email and do all the silly stuff again. But I already have their email. So I go ahead and create this thing where it's just there's no opt-in available. And then I send them this link right here as opposed to the regular link. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. So that's where you can get those 2 emails we talked a little bit about up here. So generic author, they'll have an early access email, and then they'll have an announcement email. And that's the first one is my early access. The second one is the, a promo giveaway that I could do as well. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense. These are a little wonky here. Let's go ahead and I found that children's books are almost impossible to sell online. There are people who are doing it, and I've been listening to podcasts specifically for people like you, Susan, and you, Heidi, to try to understand how they are selling their books online. And there's been a few podcasts. I know the Mark Dawson podcast just had somebody on who sells books. Actually, they've had a couple. I think, Heidi, I sent them to you around people who sell children's books. And a lot of the tips and tricks that they're doing are similar to what I'm talking about. It's really centered around the newsletter. If you want to sell them online, having a good newsletter of people who like to buy children's books or are looking for children's books is a good way to do that. And I think they're really leveraging 2 things, paid traffic and a good newsletter in order to do that. Okay, so let's get back to it. I won't take everybody's time too much. I've created a book. I've created a landing page. Great. Now I can copy that link. I can put it everywhere. My website, the book matter, my social media. Great. I have now an opt-in that people can do. All right. Next thing I want to do is I want to get into the group promotion. So you come all the way down here. Actually, first you probably do your integration if you paid for it. Integrate your newsletter. So by clicking here, so it says I have SendFox. I can create a new one, and then it shows all my lists that are available, my pen name, and then it allows me to, when I'm creating a landing page, it says when somebody subscribes to this book, send them into this list right here. And so that happens automatically. And that's part of setting up your, I believe, your landing page. Okay, that's just an option you select. It's just a drop-down menu. Okay, let's talk about the group promos, because that's really, I think, why everybody's here. Is how do I get subscribers onto my newsletter? So by clicking group promos, you're provided this list. Sci-fi fantasy is put up at the top because in my promo settings, I say that I am a sci-fi fantasy writer and I want to know everything about this one. So they kind of just put it at the top for me. But here's additional categories. So here's the children's books, because that's pretty obscure nonfiction. We'll talk about the worst of the worst, the ones people don't think they can sell. So by clicking on children's books, they say they have 10 promos going. You can see they're segmented by type. And here are the start and end dates of those promotions and how many books, how many authors and books are in each promotion. So up here on the top, you can click sort by type, because maybe at first I want to just develop my newsletter. Okay, so you come across and you can see the description here, the promo name: clean youth fiction, subgenres all, August children's book sharing, fantasy and magic for kids and teens, middle grade and young adult, and YA fantasy and magic August. Okay, so let's, for example, Susan, you're a middle grade and young adult writer. So I'm going to get in on this promo. I'm going to click here and I get to this page. All this content has been put here by the organizer, who is Corey Cooper, and there's their contact. Okay, please submit by July 30th, because they don't want to, deal with last minute people who can't get their stuff together. Does not allow erotica. Please, no young adult erotica. That's not going to go over well. No sexually suggestive book covers. All right. And then all books must, including samples and excerpts. So here's a great thing. So if you want to do a preview, you've only written one book, bingo, right here. You get to do the preview, all right? And then you can see down here, here are all the people who are in it. So they do not limit one author, one book. So you can have multiple books in here. So you can really see it's about 5 authors that are doing this promotion. Okay, hey, I want to get in this promotion. Nice big fat button here says join promo. When I click on this, you're then given this option here. You go into your drop down and find the book from your drop down. Now, I would not join this promo because it would not work for me. It then auto-fills all this information. And then you click here to find when you're going to share that email. Remember we talked about it a little bit earlier. They want to know when you will share it. Okay, make sure you're going to share it during the window. They will boot you out of the promo if you can't pick the right date. Okay, and then they want to. I always say here, note to promoter, thanks so much for doing this, Matt. So I always put something in there that's really nice that acknowledges that I've read everything here. It's just another way to get into the promos and be on people's good side. My book does not have a bad cover, so you have to select that, and you have to select that. If you don't, they won't even let you in the promo. And then all you got to do is click Join Promo, and then all that information is submitted to Corey. He or she then approves your entry into the promo. You will get an email notifying you if you've been accepted, typically within 3 or 4 hours. Okay? Once you have been accepted, you will then see your promos under here. I do not have any active promos right now. Let's see, running promos. Yeah, I do not have any active promos going right now, but then they will give you a link. That is the link you need to put in your email address, okay? Because it's a trackable link, and that's where they're getting all their data. So let's look at some running promos right now. Okay, you got the Amazon one. So I went over here to group promos, running promos. Actually, let's go back. I want to show you guys what's in nonfiction. So somebody like Andy. Let's see. Is there a KU yes or K or no problem? There is a no KU problem. There are actually promotions, and maybe I'll find a couple here that are specific for KU people. They want KU people in it. So again, it's segmented that way. Can you use negative filters to shift the promos? Yes. Okay. There are no negative filters to show only certain promos. You have to either, like Diana's asking whether or not if it's like shift or romance. Here, let's go to romance. Best thing I would say is sort by type first, and then just Control F and see if there's anything in there that fits what you're doing. So here, dark fantasy, reverse harem, all these type of things. You can then search for that. So there's 28 of those. That would probably be the best way to do that. Hopefully that answers the question. So Andy, you're nonfiction. Let's look at what's in nonfiction. Again, sort by the type. So you got sales promos. Again, those are direct links to sell your book. So in the promo, they're going to have links to all the books, and they'll all go to Amazon. All right. Newsletter pages are here. So let's see what they have. Transformational nonfiction, new year, new attitude, my life, my family, my career. That's for Christians. Poetry, memoirs, business books, helping writers write. So, okay, back to school, health. And so you want to look for the promo that fits what you're doing and see if you can join it. So everybody has a spot here. You just got to wait for your right action. And this is the other thing. And we did this back in 3 years ago when we built a bunch of people's newsletters using these principles here. There were a couple authors, Edward and Roland, and they both write nonfiction and kind of wonky nonfiction, kind of wonky fiction, kind of historical fiction. And they said, oh, there's no place for me. And I said, no. I went and created a promotion that tailored directly to their book. And so you can come up here and actually, make your own, post a new promo. You can actually run your own promotion and suck in authors that write like you, because they're sitting there waiting for your moment to write about, Americans overseas books, traveler in a foreign land books, whatever that theme might be that fits your book. You can gather in additional authors and you can run your own promotion. So hopefully that makes sense. So when you think there's no place at the table for me, you have to make your own place at the table. and people will come to join your stuff. So sci-fi fantasy, second biggest one. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff here. So whatever it might be. Let's look at the running promo so we can see a good example of like what a promotion looks like. So let's go through the Amazon. Let's go to the here you go, newsletter. So sci-fi, steampunk, space opera. So again, it's sci-fi, but they want steampunk and space opera books only. Okay, so no like military fighting ones, or no, you know, I don't know, time traveling T-Rexes. I don't know, whatever. So when I click on that, you can see here, this is the landing page. And you can see up here on the top, it says bookfunnel.com. So this is being hosted on Bookfunnel's website. Tells you a nice little countdown. And you can see, okay, so this is a smaller promo, only had 5 authors, right? So if I click on this, it takes me to Michael, Michael Brenn's, you know, whatever, his landing page, and then I can go ahead and subscribe to it. Let's see if I can find someone that's a little bit bigger. Okay, Apocalypse Averted. Okay, great. So open. Obviously, I think this is the organizer, so they get their book in the first position. And then if you scroll down, you can see all these books that are available here. So some books have better covers than others, like nice cover, maybe not really. They get to decide what goes in. Now, it's also helpful to know that they're not letting in trash to their, you know, sci-fi book. If they're having bodice rippers in their sci-fi thing, you might want to question whether or not you're in there. So those are the type of things you can always look at what's running, and you can see good ideas on that type of stuff. So that is what's running. Let's see what else we got here. Pen names, bundles, print codes. Okay, here's where that gets into the physical world. If you want to do print codes, you can print codes that go on like little cards that you can hand out. People then go to that web address, and then they can get your book. So this is where your Bookfunnel can kind of bleed into the real world, where you actually can print codes that they can send people to go and download a free book, or, you know, you can insert it into a book that you're selling. Say, oh, here, you bought this book, but here's another book for free for people who only buy my books, right? Something like that. Could you hand them out at an event? Tony, you can put them in the back pockets of the guys at the bar. You can do whatever you want with them. Tony's like, that's a good idea. You can put them anywhere, whatever you want to do. Be right back, she says. Buy my book. I think that's pretty much the bulk of it. I think most people would probably stop right there. Hopefully that explains enough. So what does this look like in the real world? So let me show you an email that I sent out maybe a couple months ago. So I have my newsletter here. So I have a nice little banner image that I make on BookBrush, a link to go get that short story. This short story was available only through Bookfunnel. So they know when they click on this, they're going to go to Bookfunnel to download it. Actually, I'm in the editor here. I have a nice little blurb. I also have links to my other short stories on Bookfunnel. Hey, if you haven't read all the stories in this one, here's 2 more. And then down here, I have my promotions. So I was in, you know, a multi-genre reading bundle, and I was in a fantasy and sci-fi giveaway. And these banners and images come from the coordinator of the promotion. So you can download this and put it directly into your newsletter, and I then make this image clickable that takes them to the bundle. So can one view and share the click history of an author before he or she? Yeah, so that's actually in your dashboard. So all these links here are clickable links. So this link here, this ending was unique to me. And so if anybody clicked on this link, it benefited me on my clicking rate or something of that nature. And so the coordinator sees how well of a sharer you are. Okay. And so that's one of the ways they account for who you are. So let's talk a little bit about somebody who, all right, here's an author that I follow. So here's on his landing page. When you click on get his free book, what does it take you to? Lo and behold, a Bookfunnel page. So you can see how he integrated on his front page a free button, and it takes you right to Bookfunnel. So if you want to get his book, you click on it and you give the email address, and it works. So it's Eric Carter. That's mine. Let's see. Oh, here, I'll go to my web page. Again, I have a top banner. You just click on it. It takes you right to Bookfunnel. Okay. Great little way to get an email subscriber option, giveaway, all in one using your website. Okay. So I showed you the Chris Fox one. Okay, so here's a newsletter that just came out, an author, Stephen Moore, that I follow. He has something about, I don't know, his dog, whatever. So he has his books out here. These are all cool covers, kind of like a thriller, if you think sort of like a kind of spy thriller-y type of thing. Links there. So here you go. He's got his audiobook. Here, if you scroll down, here's a newsletter swap that he has with another person, Blair Howard. Okay, that's a newsletter swap. He has put space in his newsletter. And now here's the thing I was talking about earlier, somebody who stuffs their newsletter, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 newsletters. This is insane. Who would want this in their newsletter, right? Every one of these is clickable to a Bookfunnel promo. This is a little bit old, but this is wild. Don't do this. Okay, he's using Story Origin as well, so now it takes you to a Story Origin page. I would not suggest you to do this. 2 to 3, limit it there. Be a good person. Don't be mean. Here's another example of the Eric Carter. He was using. He had a promo here as well, thrillers, and he put it in his newsletter. He only had one, so he's a good person. Don't be like this guy. Also, what's really cool is on that. This is another example of building promos. You can actually run the promo from your own website, right? And so this person put all these books on their website. So here's the Eric Carter one. And then these are links to Amazon. When you click on these are affiliate links. So another way for you to make a little bit more money. If you organize promotions, you can have the Bookfunnel promo, but you can also ask people to also promote through your blog as well, or your webpage. And that's another way for you to cover the costs of whatever it might be. Okay. So just another cool idea that if you're out there thinking about what to do, there you have it. So, okay. So I've melted everybody's brain. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, guys. Hour and 20 minutes. What am I doing? I promised it to be short. No?
Yeah, when you apply to a promo that someone is coordinating, is there a place that you can look at the past statistics for that organizer, so you know whether you're signing up for a person who can deliver versus someone who's going to essentially piggyback onto your newsletter without sharing or only getting 3 clicks?
It's a great question. I don't know. That's the short answer. I do because I'm in a certain genre, like the urban fantasy, you do see the same people running the same promos all the time. So I do start to look for theirs. So it's just probably through action. You just learn. I don't know if there's anything for that. I would not join a promo unless it's early. Like if it's within a week out and there's only 6 or 7 authors, that may not be one you want to join in unless you're in kind of a unique genre. But I'm in urban fantasy, so I'm probably not going to join an urban fantasy promo that has 6 authors in it. I'm going to look for the ones that have 20, 25, because I get a better chance to get more subscribers, and I get a better chance of having different eyeballs from different authors' communities see my book for the first time. So I have noticed there's a little bit of a burnout factor. So if you keep pushing the same book over and over and over again for a year, you may see your numbers slide a little, because the people are seeing the same book over and over, and they weren't interested then, they're not interested now. You've already gotten everybody who's interested. So you may notice that. So you may swap into a different series, or you may change your covers. That might be another way to go as well.
Yeah, that sounds good. Story Origin has something where you can look at the author's statistics, their share statistics, and their click history. And unfortunately, there's a fair number of people who join promos just to piggyback on, but they either don't send their newsletter or there's very few clicks. And so you end up taking advantage of.
Yeah, and you're always going to get a little bit of that. I've noticed Bookfunnel has people who run the promos there are a little bit better about that. I've had people, I got rejected out of a couple promos where I know I met the criteria of the book or the requirement, Angels and Demons, right? And they were like, your cover of your book does not necessarily say Angels and Demons. Can you please let me know if I'm wrong here? And then I would put the blurb in there and say, hey, look at the blurb. I have these themes throughout my book. Or if you're like a strong female character and your front of your cover doesn't say strong female, you may have to do some convincing there. I have found that the Bookfunnel guys do a little bit better on the curation there, so it might help alleviate some of that problem.
When you said about changing your cover, are you actually going to go out to your book, change the cover on your book, like on Kindle, KDP, Ingram Spark, or wherever you have your book at, in addition to changing it on the site? Or are you just doing something different with what you have on the site?
You might do something different. Like you may just take the same cover and just kind of like, I don't know, tweak it a little bit. Or if you have something on BookBrush, because remember that the landing page cover, it can be the book cover, but it could also be just a really compelling graphic, right? It doesn't have to be the book cover. And so you might change something up and see if that works, and do some A/B testing, right? So in one promo you put book A, and one promo you put book B, different covers, and see how they perform, right? You can always check that. And that's what I mean by that kind of tweaking and changing. Like I'm trying to plan a recovering of all my books. And so I will then update it, and then I'll get into a bunch of promos and see if I can leverage some fresh downloads or whatnot. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. Also, another important thing about remember, these are freebie people who are on Bookfunnel, and so you do want to understand that the quality of the subscribers is like a little bit below half. Like if you were going to say like, oh, they're trash to like amazing, buy everything I have, they're somewhere in the middle, maybe towards a little bit on the trash side. So it is going to require you over time to prune people who are not opening your newsletters. Again, this is another reason why coming together with a good content plan for your newsletter as you sync it up with your Bookfunnel promos will help curate people who may have just ejected out of your newsletter. These are people who may stick around and open your newsletter and actually click on your links. And so watching your open and your click rate on your newsletter is probably as far in the numbers analysis that I would suggest people to go into. A lot of people can get very wonky on the numbers of what they're seeing. Like, oh, what's my click rate? What's my, my price per click and all, and whatever term it is. I only look at like how many people are opening my newsletter, how many people are clicking on it. And I really just focus on trying to up those as much as possible. You'll notice that like, you're only going to be getting a 30 to 40% open rate, and the same people are not opening your newsletter. That means you're just going into a spam filter, or they're not interested in you. You can just delete them from your newsletter. And so you don't have to worry about it anymore. Yeah, they got a free book, but they weren't going to read your book anyway, so don't worry about it. Just prune them out, try to drive up your open rate, and then once you have a good open rate, really high open rate, really work on that click rate. You want to get people to click on stuff and try to figure out what that is. I find artificial scarcity is a good thing. My book is only available for 48 hours. That can drive a lot of clicks really fast. This book is a limited offering, first 50 people. Like the limiting aspect, there's been a lot of people talk about this, is that the limiting aspect helps drive people to action. And you're not trying to do it in a kind of an evil way. You're just trying to stimulate people to perform an action, right? And so you're curating your list. Diana and I were talking a little bit about before the talk, pruning down your list a little bit, making sure that you're really only having people who are interested in who you are, especially if you have, like MailerLite and MailChimp only allow you to go up to a certain level of subscribers before you start having to pay every single month. And that can be, costly for some people. SendFox doesn't have that as much. That's why I tell people to do that. But, the number of your subscribers may be an issue for you. So you may want to curate and prune out people who are not opening your newsletters. All right. What's your call plan? Oh, there we go. I'm tossing folks after 7 opens. Yeah. So I give people probably somewhere in that range, 7 to 10 opens. Typically, it's a time frame. So I would always say give them about 3 to 4 months, and then boot them out. And don't even send a newsletter to them saying, "Do you really want to be here?" They've already shown they don't want to be here. Just kick them out, and then just keep moving on. That's it. So if you think about it, you're going to get 200 people to claim your book in a promo. Hypothetically, 30% of them will open your newsletter. So now you're down to 70 people, 60 people. half of them will, never make it through a couple emails. And so you're really looking at 30 people. And then out of those 30 people, you might be able to cure and harden 15 to 20, right? So you're looking at a 10-to-1 thing. So you're really trying to throw a lot of people through the Bookfunnel giveaways. You get 200 people, you might keep 20. So that's the game you're playing. That's the game we're all playing, right? Any other questions? You see this with influencers as well. Like if you're following somebody on Instagram or on, whatever, on YouTube or whatever, oh, they've got 1 million subscribers on their YouTube channel, but they're only getting 30,000 views per YouTube video. So how does the million translate to actual people on the ground? How does, an Instagram following of 50,000 people actually translate onto the ground? Well, it's really probably more like 200 to 300 people. Right. And the same thing applies to like podcasts or, blogs. How many people are actually doing something? And you'll notice that when you do these type of practices, you'll be flowing a lot of people into your email list, but you'll be pruning a lot of those people out too, because they're just voluntarily not opening them. So hopefully that answers you guys' questions. Any other questions or comments? And remember, I'm always here to help everybody. So because we are a cooperative, I'm happy to chat up or email or have additional show and tells, because it can be a little scary when you start on it. I think Bookfunnel has a free starting plan. Let's see if we can find that. So you can actually have something that is so their first time author thing is $20. But what's important about this is that you don't collect emails. So you're basically just giving away books. I don't know if that's worth it. The mid-list author is the one you want. And then you pay for the integration is an add-on. So it's like $12, $13 a month. Do most of you do your own covers? Tanya, I think that's some people get them professionally done. Some people buy pre-made covers. I'm a big fan of goonwrite.com. If you go here, he has all his stuff by genre. So say like horror genre. He sells series and book covers. All you do is end up changing the text, and a lot of his covers are very compelling for the genre. Sci-fi covers here are really nice. Some people have issues where it's like, oh, I wish his patch was on the other eye, or I wish it wasn't so blue here. You're never gonna, if you can't be happy with that, then you got to go do your own cover. So it's up to people to make their decision on that. Any other questions? Yeah, he does nickel and dime people. That's his money thing. But for $50 or less, for a digital cover where you spend 10 minutes writing an email, I would gladly take that over 40 hours of Photoshop work. So it's a give and take. It's what do you want? All right, guys. Well, I don't want to take any more of your time. I will put a link to the YouTube video here in the Skype chat. So if you come back and maybe in a day or so, there'll be a link there, and I will try and get the members site up and running. But I will now go and do some yard work or something. I think my kids are up. All right. And I'm happy to stay and answer additional questions if you guys want.